Hmm. I'm MC Prophet, and I'm so depressed that my beard fell off. Okay, so I was going to like just kind of play it off like it's nothing, but honestly, it just ruined my mood, so I'm gonna mention it. I just recorded literally like I just did I don't know 25 minutes of this vlog. Like I basically finished the vlog and I looked at it and like boom, didn't record. Some kind of glitch. Great. So now, while I'm in a happy, bright, sunshiny mood, the perfect game to talk about is Pokemon fucking Sun. So let's talk about it. For those of you who don't know what this vlog series is, it's a series where I want to bash my head against a fucking wall. By which I mean it's a series. People are gonna think that I hate this game, but no, I have nice things to say about this actually, but I'm just upset because of all that work that was undone. But basically, I started this series because I wanted to take a look at the new Pokemon games because everyone's been telling me, like, a lot of the problems that I have with the series have been addressed in Pokemon Sun. And it's always been such a huge part of my childhood. It was a huge influence on me creatively. To this day, I like one of my favorite things to do in the stories that I make is make all these fictional creatures, and it's just it. This series influenced me a lot. So does this game kind of recapture that childhood magic of adventure and investment in this fictional world? Yeah, actually. I really like this so far. So much so that I just spent 25 minutes praising it. So I guess I'm going to try to echo everything that I just said. But for those, just like a quick little disclaimer, this is not the first part of this series. In the first part of the series, which I'll, like you can click the I card at the top corner of the screen in order to see it. In that video, I basically talk about my personal history with the series and why I am so frustrated with it and why I wanted it to change in so many ways. But thus far, this is fixing a lot of my problems, honestly. Because first, I'll talk about the story, because that's the thing that's standing out the most to me right now. Because, believe it or not, a lot of people actually warned me on Twitter and stuff when I was first starting to do this, that the opening of this game is really slow and very tutorial heavy. And the thing is, when it's done well, I'm actually perfectly okay with that. I think that the fact that I'm a huge fan of Twilight Princess is actually my favorite Legend of Zelda game. A lot of people say, even people who like it say, like, oh, you gotta watch out for Twilight Princess because the game is really good, but that tutorial is really long. And it's like, yeah, but it's character driven, it's story driven, it's fun, you have stuff to do, you have stuff to explore, there's a lot of gameplay involved. Like, it's like, yeah, you're learning a lot of things and it's teaching you how to do the mechanics, but a tutorial is not boring by default, I guess is the best way to put it, even if it is long. And I think that this game does a pretty good job of introducing its mechanics in an interesting way, because I can't believe I'm saying this. At the moment, I'm invested in these characters. I'm invested in this game's story. I never thought that I would say that in a million years. Like, I thought that the story would be tolerable. I didn't think that I would actually care about these kids. And I don't want to give the impression that, I'm just as invested in this as I am in something like Tales of Symphonia or Final Fantasy IX or Mass Effect or something like that, because it's not like on that level. But who knows what the future holds? It might get even better. But right now, I am actually invested, and I think that a lot of that has to do with really a lot of the characters and the fact that the humor and the connection between all these different characters and the bond that they all have actually kind of, it works. I feel it. And a huge part of that right now is Lillie, that cute little blonde character with the sun hat that everyone's raving about and drawing horrible pictures of online. Yeah, her. Um, First of all, she's like. I wasn't really ready for Pokemon to address like actual issues of any kind. But this kid has basically been abused. I don't know how far they're going to go with it. It's an E-rated game, it's Pokemon, and it's Nintendo. Like they're one step edgier than 90s Disney, so I don't really think that they're gonna go too far with it, but the fact is, this is a character who has at the very least witnessed abuse of Pokemon. And I like the way that they establish this about her, because they open the game with her escaping this facility in this like chase scene, which was actually really well shot. That's another thing. The camera angles are really nice in a lot of the cutscenes, and it feels like they actually hired someone who knew how to film more cinematic angles. But this scene where she's escaping from all these employees, and you already kind of know from context clues that someone that she's related to is involved in this company in some way. But she's like running away, and all of a sudden this Pokemon that she's trying to protect comes out and does some kind of ability to protect her. And it flashes forward and focuses on the main character. But that was a really cool establishing moment, because it shows that this is a character who... It gives a lot of context for her actions later on. Because if you know anything about me, I really hate like shy, shrinking Violet characters. I just don't really find them very appealing, but I like how there's immediately a reason for why she's kind of like that. And there's a lot of subtext with her. Like, I love how, she comments on the fact that you have this good relationship with your mom, and she says it in this way that's like, is she jealous? She sounds kind of wistful about that. She says multiple times that she's really, like, averse to Pokemon getting hurt. She's really sensitive to that kind of thing, and again, that combined with how protective she is of this Pokemon, I think it's called Nebby, but I think that its actual Pokemon name is Cosmog, or something like that. But the way that she's so protective of this Pokemon and, gave it a cute nickname and stuff. This kid's been through a lot. Like, she was basically adopted by this game's Pokemon professor. Like, what's happening with this poor kid? And like, just right off the bat, just that combined with the fact that, she is this friendly kid, and she is interesting enough, like, like she's a pal, like she's an actual companion, and I'm interested to see like where her story goes. And I don't know, I think that she makes a really nice juxtaposition with the other semi-main character in this story, which is Hao. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And the first thing I thought when I saw Hao was, wow, you look a lot like the main character of my game, only 10 years old. The second thing that I thought about him is a lot of people are going to hate this character, because he's bright and energetic and happy-go-lucky. Yeah, no, I like him, honestly. And I think that a big reason for that is because he's a kid who actually acts like a kid. A huge overarching problem I have with a lot of the Pokemon games, specifically 5 and 6, those generations, no one acts like a human being. Let alone acts their age or anything like that. But this character, honestly, like, Hao acts like a kid. He's like super like, if he was like a grown-ass man being this excited about everything, then I would be like, okay, what the fuck are you doing? But he's a kid. He's like excited to go on an adventure. He's just so go with the flow. I love that about him, because so often you have this half-assed rival in this franchise where there's this underdeveloped, boring character who's just kind of frustrated at the fact that he can't beat you. And that's your rival character. Hao isn't even a rival character. He's just another trainer who's like doing his own thing. He's just off having fun. He just wants to literally have an adventure with his friends. And he doesn't care about anything else. I have a feeling that might change a little bit as a series goes on, because I'm told that this game actually has freaking character development. Amazing, right? But I like this character a lot, honestly. Not as much as Lillie. Lillie's kind of stealing the show, because she's very interesting. But I'm just interested to see where her story goes. But Hao, he's just like, you have Lillie, who is this kind of put upon, somewhat abused kid who escaped from home, got adopted by someone who was at one point a stranger to her. and, like basically risked everything to save this Pokemon. And then you have that contrasted with the happy-go-lucky, not shy at all Hal, who's just like, whatever, let's fight our Pokemon. I'm up for that. He's not constantly challenging you. He's not like trying to get better than you at all. He's just like, yeah, that was fun. Which I think is kind of funny because he actually put up a good fight in the second fight. Maybe it's because I didn't like grind at all. Because I don't plan on grinding in this game. But yeah, he's a fun character. I like him. I like how he doesn't even frown when he loses. He's like, whatever, good job, dude. I don't know, it's refreshing just to have a character like that who just kind of is going on their own flow. I also know that there's a real rival character later, so I'm not too concerned about him filling that role. So if I didn't know that there was another rival coming down the line, maybe I'd be a little bit more disappointed with Hal, but whatever. I guess another thing to note is I liked this game's... I just like the dialogue a lot. I'm not going to harp on too much about that, but you don't understand how much of a relief it is to me that people talk like people. That's pretty much all I have to say. I like the new professor. He's a fucking pimp. He gave me 10 Pokeballs. Everyone else gives you 5. Like, this guy... He's making every other professor look like a fucking cheapskate. I also love... I love that scene where you go up to the Pokemon... Like, you go up to his lab for the first time, and it's beat up, and it's falling apart, and there's, like, boards constantly being nailed to repair the roof and shit, and it's like, what the hell is this guy doing? And the explanation for why his lab is like that actually made me laugh. And I never thought that a joke in a fucking Pokemon game would actually make me laugh. So, right off the bat, granted, I give the series a handicap for writing, but I like this. I like this game's story so far. Other things that I really like, it's a little bit challenging. And when I say a little bit, I mean you have to think. I'm not really saying that, like, oh god, I keep on dying to all these guys. Like, no, not that kind of challenge. I'm saying it's not brain dead. I can't send out whoever the hell I want and spam basic attacks and win. This is probably, again, like, part of this is probably the fact that I'm using multiple Pokemon and I'm not using EXP share. But I don't know, I'm getting a kick out of it so far. Like, I feel like I'm actually planning, and, I built an actual team who I'm going to show to you now. I forgot that I need to do this because I did this. I just recorded this. I thought I recorded this. But I got my little team here. It's not going to show up super well on screen because I don't have the best lighting for this kind of thing. But I got a Pikipek, the best starter, obviously, Slowpoke, and a Rattata. And I certainly never thought I'd get a Rattata. To like give you an idea of how much I don't care about Rattata, I misspelled its name like 3 times before Google finally knew what the hell I was looking for. But yeah, so far, I like this team a lot because I got, Rowlet is this balanced character, Slowpoke is this tanky, slow, methodical character, and then Rattata and, to a lesser extent, Pikipek are like the speedy sweeper guys. And that kind of brings up an interesting thing, because I noticed, this is one of the only things that I'm a little nervous about. A lot of the new Pokemon are really, really freaking slow. Like, weirdly slow. Like, just really low speed stat. And speaking as someone who basically never used slow Pokemon, like, if I saw that someone had a below average speed stat, I probably wasn't going to use them in most of these games. But I kind of realize now that they're trying to experiment with the balance a little bit, because I think that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company kind of acknowledge the fact that speed is a really overpowered stat when it's high enough. Especially when it's paired with a high attack stat and special stat. Because for those of you who don't know, there's this thing called sweepers. And it's a type of Pokemon that basically has high speed and at least one of their attack stats are really high. So they can effectively, 1 or 2 shot someone and they never get hit. So their low defensive stats don't really matter. And they just keep on taking everybody out in one hit. And it's a huge part of the meta in the Pokemon series, and it pretty much always has been. And I think that they want to fix that a little bit with this game. The one problem with it is that you have so many Kanto Pokemon, maybe Pokemon from other gens too, I don't really know yet. And all these Kanto Pokemon, even in their Alolan forms, they still have really high speed stats. Because a lot of Pokemon in Kanto are really, really fast. You know, like Rattata is a good example of that. Like, speed, I think, is his primary stat. And when you look at it that way, it's like, you know, you're kind of de-incentivizing people from trying the new Pokemon, which is kind of the point of a new Pokemon game. So, I don't know if that's really a big problem yet. I will find out. But there's a lot of new Pokemon that I'm really excited to try. I also don't know all of the new Pokemon at all. I remember when I first saw those cute little sea slug guys with like the diamond things coming out of them. I don't know what they are because I haven't encountered them in the wild yet, but they're really weird and cute, and I want one. I want like 5. But yeah, you know, I'm excited to play around with these guys. Just the speed balance thing, it's a problem I'm going to be looking out for. I'm a little bit nervous about that. But, because I know that all the starters are slow as shit. That's another problem. But, yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it so far. Something that I also really like, I like how they continued the Pokemon-Ami thing, where you can kind of play with your Pokemon and in this little, like, you know, touchscreen game where you, like, tickle, like, you know, you pet them, you give them treats and stuff, like it's a pet simulator. I like that. The series always needed that stuff. You know, that was in X and Y too. But I don't know. I guess I just kind of like it more in this one. I think it works. I think that a big reason why I like it a little bit more is because there's a heavy emphasis on the real bond that you have with these characters. Um, I I have to admit, I grinned like an idiot when my Rowlet also chose me. Those of you who played this know what I'm talking about, but that was sweet, okay? Not gonna apologize for getting a little happy at that, but that was really cute. And I'm just beside myself about how I'm actually somewhat invested in this game's story. I like how a lot of I like how a lot of the characters behave like actual characters, and I like the fact that, you know, I actually have to think a little bit. Again, it's not like a very hard game, but they introduce like they have Muck really early as a Pokemon that you have to deal with, and he like has the ability to just deal poison to you frickin' constantly with normal attacks. Um, and I like that. I like the fact that you're already giving me stuff to cope with. I think that there was one fight where I like actually ended up like, you know, I almost always put like the weakest Pokemon that I actually want to use first when I go into a trainer battle because I'm like, you know, whatever, I'm gonna beat him and it's gonna be fine. That was a huge mistake with one of these trainers in the trainer school because, as you know, like I don't really overlevel in these games. Um, and he kind of kicked my ass. Like I almost had like 2 Pokemon faint before I actually beat this guy, and he only had 1 freaking Pokemon. And I loved that. I actually really liked that. If I had been a little bit more prepared, then that would have been fine. But, you know, I was carrying this bias of like, you know, whatever. I don't need to even try in Pokemon because I always beat these games like, you know, 5 levels at least behind whatever I'm fighting, and I'm usually fine. But I don't know. I might not be able to do that this time, but I like that. I like that a lot. As long as you turn off EXP share and you're not like min-maxing your EVs and shit like that, then I think that this game actually puts up a bit of a fight. As long as you're not like literally metagaming the entire fucking thing. I think that the problem with X and Y is like I didn't even have to try. Like I turned off EXP share pretty early when I started to realize, okay, I'm really overleveled. But the game like never caught up with me, and I was actively avoiding fights. And I just started to realize that enemies don't use tactics. They don't have a strategy. They don't have a plan. And that's like when I just started to give up because it's like, you know, I don't feel like I'm playing a game. I feel like the game's playing itself. I'm not getting that in this. And again, I'm just starting. But yeah, what else do I really need to talk about? The Hawaiian Islands are a great idea for a setting. I haven't seen it explored to its fullest yet, obviously, because again, just starting. Pokemon Professor. I love the way he looks. I don't know, just open shirt. He looks like he's about to go surfing, but he still manages to have this academic presence. I don't know. I like him. He's a very different kind of professor. He's also just a really big sweetheart. I like how he basically adopted Lillie. Um, but yeah, and of course he's biased towards dog Pokemon, so I'm officially biased towards him. And I will be getting a Rockruff as soon as I can find one. I haven't found one yet, but you will be mine. That's probably my favorite new Pokemon so far, the Rockruff, surprising absolutely no one. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm actually having fun. The visuals are also really nice. This is some of my favorite music in the series so far, actually. I really like how it can be very chill and atmospheric. They introduce the traditional Hawaiian chorus every now and then. It gives this really like serious atmosphere to it. Like, it doesn't. It feels like you're on this vacation destination, but it also feels like you're exploring and learning and becoming part of an actual interesting culture that has a lot of history. They worship Pokemon as guardian deities. Um, it's cool stuff. I am officially charmed. I'm going to fight Team Skull for the first time tonight, and hopefully I will be charmed even more. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Like I hopefully said earlier, you can click the thing that's somewhere on the thing, that iCard, or a link in the description, and you can see the first part of the series, and the link to the Patreon and all the rewards therein will also be there. I will throw out that patrons will occasionally be able to see videos like this early. That's just an extra bonus. So, if you care about that kind of thing, cool. If you don't, then cool. Like, I'm always going to be producing this stuff for free, but, I don't know, I need food. What do you fucking want from me? But, yeah, so, I hope you enjoy. I'm having fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of this, and, yeah. I hope it doesn't fuck up at the end.